first Sunday in April. Welcome to this beautiful morning, beautiful because we are all here together. To Unitarian Universalist Church West here in Brookfield, Wisconsin. Whatever moved you to be here this morning, in person or virtually, thank you for being here with us. Welcome, each of you. I am Jeannie Baker, pronouns she and her, and this is one of the duties I perform as a member of your Board of Trustees. This morning, as we often do, we offer gratitude for the privilege of living and gathering on territory inhabited at various times by Native people of the Midwest. Those of us who are settlers and newcomers are beholden to recognize that history and lean our hearts into the work of reconciliation and reparation. As a welcoming congregation to gay, lesbian, transgendered, bisexual, and queer plus peoples, we continue to acknowledge and address ongoing homophobia, violence, and targeted legislation. As an anti-racist faith community, we also acknowledge that racism throughout our society continues to lead to the violent deaths and oppression of people of color. May we continue to engage in the struggle to dismantle white supremacy culture in our hearts, in our community, and in our world. Whoever you are and from wherever you come, whatever your age or color, whatever your gender identity, whomever you love, however you define family, you are welcome here. United in the spirit of justice, united in the spirit of covenant, and united in the spirit of love. We are UUCW. You are welcome here. Let's do a little bookkeeping. If you're new here or visiting, please take a moment to fill out one of the slips in your hymnal, or drop us a note at visitor@uucw.org, or stop by the visitor table in the foyer after service and have a chat, or talk to absolutely anybody in the coffee room after service. We'd all love to get to know you. If you're feeling a little antsy, or if you listen better while doing something with your hands, and that is me, you can scoot over to the worship exploration table and do some activities there while listening attentively to the service. Now, as always, there's a robust list of things that are happening at UUCW. Of particular note today, it's a long list, but I'm just going to point out a couple of little things. After the service today, you are invited to join our honored speaker and Reverend Jill in the sanctuary for a Q&A. That sounds pretty interesting. And also, today is the day, remember, we're going to start locking the door after 10 minutes after service starts. If you don't have a code to get in, please see Vicki after service. Last and not least is a big thank you to the 173 households who have submitted their pledge for our pledge drive. Let's let you know, thank you. Thank you. We are so close. The announcement says we're only 6% of the way. This was probably printed on Thursday or so, you know, every day we inch. If you have not submitted your pledge, this says that there are 23 pledges outstanding. We'll reach our goal. We will reach our goal. Don't procrastinate. Send in your pledge. Thank you, and now to our service.
Good morning. My name is the Reverend Jill Braithwaite, and I use she, her pronouns, and I serve this congregation as its minister. It's so good to be with you all on a fine, sunny morning after we saw our nation express itself so beautifully yesterday. Our worship and RE theme for April is joy. And I recall that I first had the distinct joy of seeing Tran Myhre share his spoken word poetry about 15 years ago, maybe, or so, at First Universalist Church in Minneapolis. In addition to being an award-winning poet, Kyle is a longtime community activist and organizer and trainer. I invite you this morning to join me in warmly welcoming Kyle to UU Church West. Now let's settle ourselves, take a couple breaths together. Let's feel the earth beneath us and feel ourselves to be grounded in the love that holds us all. I offer these words for our call to worship. Once upon a time, chemists believed that they could transform lead into gold or death into life. We laugh, but are we not also in the business of alchemy? Turning loneliness into connection, pain into comfort, anger into solidarity, faith into action. The subtle magic of church combines love with justice, creates hope out of fear, transforms individuals into community. Here, we engage in a holy alchemy, finding beauty in the ordinary and life in the present. Come, let us worship together. And now let us rise in body and or spirit, and we'll sing together hymn 1010, We Give Thanks. I now invite Jeannie to light our chalice. As we speak together our chalice lighting words, which are found in your order of service. We light this chalice in celebration of joy, the flickering flame of a candle, a flame that shimmers, that dances, that cheers, the flame that heartens and encourages us in hard times, the welcoming flame of this community.
Good morning. My name is Dave Cicero. I'm Director of Lifespan Religious Education here at UU Church West. My pronouns are he and his. And if anyone would like to come a little bit closer to see the pictures for today's story, you're welcome to do so here. So in order to share with you today a story about what it takes to make something with others, about making mistakes in a safe place, about improvising, and about joyfully making a new plan when things don't go according to plan, I'll be reading What Can a Mess Make? By B. Johnson. And I'm doing so with permission of Macmillan Publishing Group. Kitchen clatter, milk and juice, syrup splatter, chocolate mousse, bowl of berries, red and blue. A mess can make a meal for two. rubber bands and cardboard box, coffee tin and shiny rocks. Funnel hose and tape in hand can make a marching band. Playmat, pillows, kitchen chair, rag doll with the braided hair, books and blankets, soft is best. A mess can make a place to rest. Magic markers, missing caps, glue and pom-poms, fabric scraps, paint on elbows, paint on knees. A mess can make a masterpiece. Tree trunk table, patchwork quilt. Tea is served, tea is spilt. Crumbs left scattered everywhere. A mess can make a snack to share. Seashells, snail shells, fancy ring, tiny pine cone, lucky string, bracelet stretching out, out, out. A mess can make us scream and shout. Timer ticking. Saris swapped. String and scissors, double knots, a bead for you, a bead for me. A mess can make things good as new. Salty water, homemade sauce, bread in basket, salad tossed. Heavy platter, little hands. A mess can make a change in plans. Bath time bubbles, minty mouth, feathers flying north and south. Softly settle. 2 brooms sweep. A mess can make a good night's sleep. And that is the end. Thank you for listening. So now is the time when children and youth can meet together in their religious education classrooms. Those of you going out with me could come forward, please, and follow me from where the chalice is here, while Ruben has agreed to lead our recessional song. And I invite you to join him in doing that. As we go.
We enter now a time for sharing of joys and sorrows that touch our individual lives. This is one way we express through ritual the many ways that we care for one another in this community. In a few moments, you'll be invited to come to the mic to share aloud. And if you have something that you'd rather not share aloud, you can use the QR code on the order of service or the share side of the blue slip to put something in writing. And at any time, excuse me, and at any time during the week, you can use the link in the e-news to let us know what's on your heart. What you share this morning is only for the ears of those gathered now. It will not be in the posted video of the service or shared in our e-news. So in a moment, again, you'll be invited to come to the mic to speak if you choose to, or raise your hand and an usher will bring you a mic. I will light a candle for you, and after each sharing, I will invite you all to respond with me. We hold you in love. To folks attending online, know that we hold you in love as well. And now we place one last candle for those joys and concerns not shared this morning, but held deep in our hearts. We hold you in love. Now let's pause and breathe together and hold all that's been shared in our hearts. Will you join me now in a spirit of prayer or meditation? Spirit of life and love, great divine mystery that goes by many names and is beyond all naming. We give thanks for the many gifts in our lives, our families, friends, caregivers, communities, and for the web of trust and care that helps us feel safe and loved. We give thanks for the art and the music that lifts us up and inspires us. We give thanks for the earth and all its beauty and bounty. We send the love and light of this community to all who suffer, be it from illness or oppression, loneliness or grief. May we know that joy shared is joy multiplied, and that sorrow shared is sorrow divided. Blessed be, and amen. Now please remain seated as we sing together hymn number 1031, Filled with Loving Kindness.
May I be
Our first reading today is from the Book of Delights, Essays by Ross Gay. It astonishes me sometimes, no, often, how every person I get to know, everyone, regardless of everything, by which I mean everything, lives with some profound personal sorrow. Brother addicted, mother murdered, dad died in surgery, rejected by family, cancer came back, evicted. Everyone, regardless, always, of everything. Not to mention the existential sorrow we all might be afflicted with, which is that we and what we love will soon be annihilated. Which sounds more dramatic than it might. Let me just say, dead. Is this sorrow, of which our impending being no more might be the foundation, is this the great wilderness? Is sorrow the true wild? And if it is, and if we join them, your wild to mine, what's that? For joining too is a kind of annihilation. What if we joined our sorrows, I'm saying, what if that is joy? Our second reading is from the book Black Liturgies by Cole Arthur Riley. We must reclaim joy outside of the artificial cheer it is often reduced to. There is a joy that is defiant, a portal to survival for our ancestors, a way to say, we will not be captive to despair nor abandon our belief in beauty. Joy with teeth.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. It's 92 degrees in October in Minnesota. They canceled that marathon yesterday, and I've never been a runner, but I'm trying to remember when we say despair is for suckers, we don't mean sadness. We don't mean depression. We don't mean cynicism. All that is understandable. What we mean is like the lost astronaut who doesn't believe in the rescue mission, so he jumps out the airlock with no helmet. Or like the shooting guard down by 2 with 5 seconds in the game left who won't take the shot because the odds that he misses are greater than the odds that he makes it. And yes, I know the poem hasn't rhymed yet. Neither has my life. It's tension and release, the idea that the work and the pain has a payoff, whether or not we live to see it, whether or not we really believe we run, because our feelings are real, and our feelings are not all that is real. Remember our neighbors, our family, our friends, our fists, our histories bound up together like our futures flickering just out of reach, but real, a light that isn't bright enough to be the sun, but doesn't need to be if it can show us which direction to run. For all those who wrote the setup, knowing that they'd never hear the punchline, thank you. For all those who move toward a better world, even when our speed is only sublight, thank you. To all those with the humility to see inevitability is a myth, for all those who never thought they would win, but fought anyway, until they did. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Very briefly, I don't have a ton of time here. My name is Kyle. My stage name for many years was Guante, but you can call me Kyle. I'm from Minneapolis, but actually I grew up in La Crosse. I lived in Waukesha for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade. I haven't been back here since then, I think. And it's wild just to see things that I remember a little bit. And so Wisconsin has a very special place in my heart. And that little piece of writing I just shared, I'm just gonna share a couple of poems, but that little piece started as a piece about climate and like the grief that so many of us feel about the climate crisis, right? And you know, the fundamental importance of sharing that grief and expressing it and making it real so that we can do something about it. But you know, over the last couple of years, it then became a piece about Gaza and about like everything else that's happening in the world, and I've tried to just keep it in my pocket to know that there's power in acknowledging those who came before us and that we are just a little link in this chain. Like there's strength and hope that I think we can draw from that, even when everything is terrible, and especially when everything is terrible. So yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about what I do, but let me just jump into another piece here. This is called Poem for the First Day of the Poetry Unit in Language Arts Class, which is my normal audience, not this audience, but all right. Not everyone who studies the sky has to become a pilot. Some people just like looking at the clouds because they're pretty. Some are more concerned with weather patterns and their effect on crops. Some are just charting a course from point A to point B, a matter of routine, which is all to say, it is okay if you don't like poetry. I don't really like the sky. The sun gives me a migraine. The wind blows in my face. It snows on days I don't want it to snow. You will never find me in the gondola of a hot air balloon 1,000 paces from where I should be pacing. But language has made me weightless. If only for a moment, a poem, once or twice, has guided me home. So I want to say something like, you know, when your teacher makes you write a poem for school, don't think of it as an assignment. Think of it as an opportunity. But that's kind of corny. A lot of things in life that are true are kind of corny. This isn't a very good poem. I wrote it like yesterday, and yes, it would be better if it were better, but sometimes you see a stage, and it's the sky waiting for you to scream something alive into it. So tell your story, whether it rhymes or not. Tell the truth, whether it gets a good grade or not. Write something that means something to you. Even if you don't perform it or publish it or share it with anyone, poetry is not just about putting some words in a pretty way next to some other words. It's like, think of all the materials with which you could quilt a giant hot air balloon into being. The flags of 100 nations, the banners of 100 warriors, the baby blankets of 100 lost children. But no matter how beautiful or colorful or well-constructed the balloon itself is, none of that makes it fly. Like how you, I would imagine, are more than whatever container currently holds you, more than the scraps from which you have been sewn together. And the poem you will write does not have to be the first step on some illustrious career as a professional poet. The poem doesn't have to save anybody. The poem doesn't even have to be good. Let it be honest, and let that be enough. Let it say, this is who I am, and this is the community that I represent, and let that fill as much space as it can, rise off the ground and meet the sky. The first poem I ever wrote was about the end of the world, and I'm old enough now to have lived through the end of a few. And I don't remember the words, just a landscape for the dark cloud in me to rain on, just the feeling of rising through that cloud, and for the first time, seeing the stars on the other side of it. I don't remember the words, but I remember the light, and I've been walking in its direction ever since. So just very briefly, part of that poem is exactly what it says in the title. I use it when I go to high schools and middle schools and teach poetry workshops and do residency work. And we have to address that question of why. Like, why do we study poetry in school when we could be studying math or whatever, right? And really trying to make that point that it isn't about following the perfect formula to write the poem, or isn't about saying really weird, you can be weird if you want to be, and that's great, but it's about something deeper than that, right? It's about digging into ourselves and figuring out what we actually care about, what we believe, who we are, what our values are. And for a lot of us too, it's about sharing that then in community with others and growing through that process. And I share it here partly just to introduce myself, but also to really affirm that yes, I'm a poet, my work often flows through poetry, but again, there's something more fundamental underneath that. And whether or not you like poetry or relate to it or whatever, what we're really talking about is community and relationship building and communication. And look at all of you doing that work in this space. It's really inspiring to see. And just how important it is to have spaces like this where people can express themselves and listen to each other and just be in space with each other. I think, yeah, that's really cool to see. I also think, relating it to the story, right, about making a mess. Some of my favorite poetry is very messy. It doesn't follow the meter or the formula rules you're supposed to. And just to make this last point before I share another poem, when I go into schools, we talk about spoken word. We don't have a ton of time to get into the whole definitions and everything, but I think one thing that's important is the history, right? You can trace the way people do spoken word today through the Black arts movement in the 60s, through the Beat generation, through the Harlem Renaissance, through all these different literary and cultural movements in this country and beyond. And at the end of that spectrum, at the end of that timeline, you get to this idea that every culture on Earth, on every continent, has some version of the storyteller or the singer who travels from village to village and shares songs or stories or poems to kind of pass along the information of the place or the culture of the place. And I think that work, whether it's me doing it through poetry or just every day, everyone doing it through making connections and relationships, that work's really important. The three kind of fundamental pillars with spoken word, I talk about our one, story, the idea that everyone has a story and every story matters. 2, freedom, that there's no one way to do it. You can write about whatever you want in whatever way you want to do it, which is very intimidating for some people, but can also be very liberating. And then 3, community, that it isn't about people, I I didn't even introduce myself with my bio. Like, I've performed at the United Nations. I was on a Grammy-winning album last year. I'm a 2-time National Poetry Slam champion. And like, there are a handful of us who do this for a living, but when people encounter spoken word in real life, it is 99% of the time through open mics and poetry slams, spaces where anybody can show up, anybody can share something. It's about that democratization of expression and art and culture and how important that is. For all of us, just go beyond that everyday, stuff we get to talk about. So I'm talking too much. Let me just do like 2 more poems and then I'll get out of your way. A lot of my work is around like masculinity. I go to colleges and talk to like the football team and the fraternities around kind of counter-narrative masculinity stuff, consent, gender violence prevention, things like that. And this is a poem that started in that place, but then kind of became something else. The title of it is When It Really Is Just the Wind and Not a Furious Vexation, which is a movie quote. Does anyone get that quote? Oh, come on, somebody. It's from Mad Max Fury Road from 2018, I think, a few years ago. But yeah. The year I was born, the Soviet Union's early warning radar system malfunctioned, reporting 5 intercontinental ballistic missiles in flight. You may have heard this story, how it was just like this one guy, this like Soviet lieutenant colonel or whatever, who made the call to dismiss that signal as the false alarm that it was. But we were this close. And what if that one guy had made a different call in that moment? What if he had seen those 5 ghost fingers as a fist? A mushroom cloud. The most dangerous cliche. I hold it in my hands on my 40th birthday and it becomes a bouquet. 1,000 stems leading to 1,000 worlds in which cooler heads did not prevail. To 1,000 alternate universe versions of me, born in the year of the apocalypse. I see myself dead via radiation poisoning, dead via the shutdown of the supply chain, the failure of the water system, the reemergence of previously preventable diseases, dead in such manly ways, right? Like an unlucky fall in a fist fight over nothing, like a scratch that got ignored and infected. I pluck petals, trying to find a version of me who survives, hoping to find that, leather jacket, black motorcycle, katana strapped to my back version, that warrior poet, lone vessel of vengeance, keeping the wasteland's unending tide of razor-clawed mutants at bay version. All these dead worlds, and he isn't out there. All these visions of who I could have been, and not a single hero. Folk, super, anti, or otherwise. In one life, I wore a suit of armor and drowned in the river. In one life, I hoarded food and choked on it. In one life, the basement was so full of boxes of bullets, a tornado came and I had nowhere to go. No shelter. I emptied clip after clip into the wind. All these dead worlds, and we tell the same stories. Which is not to say that I never survive, just that my survival in every reality where it is possible never belongs to me. I see myself 40, not a dual-wielding bandit warlord, just a neighbor, sitting in another endless community meeting, because how many of our ancestors have already taught us, even after the world ends, there is work to do. I see myself in the work, not the leader, not a lone wolf, just another part of the pack, because in every universe in which I am alive, it is because of other people. And I don't always like them, but I love them. In every universe in which I am alive, it is less because I could fight and more because I could forgive. Because I could cooperate, because I could apologize, because I could dance, because I could grow pumpkins in my backyard and leave them at my neighbor's doorstep asking for nothing in return. In every universe in which I am alive, I'm holding a first aid kit, a solar panel, a sleeping cat, never a rusty battle axe or a rocket launcher. Yeah, maybe sometimes a chainsaw, but only for firewood. I'm holding a cooking pot, a teddy bear, a photo album, a basketball, a bouquet of flowers. Survival is not a fortress. It is a garden. Survival is not a siren. It is a symphony, and yes, we fight for it sometimes, of course, but survival is not the fight. It is the healing after. Clean water, fresh air, the soft hum of someone you trust applying the bandage, the feeling of falling asleep in a safe place. Thank you. Let's have one more short one, but just really briefly. That poem was inspired by a book. An archaeologist / anthropologist named Chris Begley wrote a book called, I think, The Next Apocalypse, where he studies civilizations that have gone through collapse, like, you know, the Roman Empire collapsed, the genocide of Native Americans in the Americas, right? And he studied, like, who survives these collapses. Because, of course, our pop culture kind of dominant narrative is that the people who survive apocalyptic times are the toughest people, right? The most selfish, like, single-minded people. You know, in a zombie movie, as soon as you turn around to help somebody, that's when the zombies get you, right? And what this archaeologist found, though, was that in reality, the people who survive apocalyptic times, who survive crises, are not the toughest, strongest people. They're the people who can work together, who can put their egos aside, right? And, you know, have the humility to work in community with others, to do what we all need to do. And, like, that's such an incredible metaphor for the masculinity work that I do, like talking to young men about, like, what qualities do we hold that actually help us and what qualities do we hold that actually hurt us. But, like, even beyond that work, for everyone, when we're thinking about activism and organizing and what we can do in this historical moment, it's almost a platitude. Like, you all know the answer is community, but I think we have to continually affirm that over and over. It's community. It's showing up to actions, joining organizations, showing up to different things. So thank you for listening to that. This last piece, I wanted to do something that jumped on that idea of joy. Because, you know, joy can be found in making a mess from the children's book, right? Like, joy can be found in, you know, there are so many different ways to find that. And for me, part of it, and this might not be something I should admit out loud, but part of it is spite. I find a lot of joy in spite. As a longtime, you know, organizer, and I want to share a piece called A Pragmatist's Guide to Faith. I know there's a little irony performing that in a place of faith, but I think this group will get it, right? And so, I'll just do this last piece. I have a bunch of free stuff afterwards if you're interested. Little zines or like little booklets around different topics and stuff. Please come check that out and we can talk. This is the art of drawing breath, of making visible what has been invisible. This is a pragmatist's guide to faith. This is singing when you don't know how to pray. Welcome to this space. Know that you are not welcome here. We are all miracles. We are not welcome here. This universe would like nothing more than for you to not exist, and the proof is in the history you live. Tell me this: what are the odds that this planet would appear in just the right place with the right atmosphere and conditions, the specific combination of chemicals and catalysts to spark in the darkness? Just imagine it. What are the odds this accident would spread? What are the odds it would survive and stay ahead of volcanic eruptions, meteorites, and earthquakes? That first drum, first beat, first rhythm, first break, first time the notes broke to form a system. You could hear the first melody, the first multi-celled organism. What are the odds this first environment to harbor life would meet another, maybe fight or maybe harmonize, but either way it would evolve? So what are the odds it would evolve to walk and not crawl, to fly and not fall, to survive every single mass extinction? What are the odds of your existence? How many generations did it take to make you? How many plagues and massacres conspired to kill your family tree before it could even take root? How many ancestors claim you? Somewhere, a sunset, a mother with every reason to quit doesn't. A conscript sneaks away from the action. A farmer makes it through the famine. Somewhere, calamity strikes and everyone dies except the big sister holding a baby with your eyes. Somewhere, a rebel, a runaway slave, a survivor found something to die for or something to live for. Against all odds, found a future to fight for. A future to fight for. So is it inconceivable, the happenstance inherent in this life you have inherited? See, some see the elegant complexity of bodies or the natural beauty of the planet and they say it's godly. There's gotta be divine intelligence behind it all because the odds that you would make it on your own are so small. And maybe, but me, I see millennia trying to murder you. I see 1,000 generations of pain and fear and struggle inscribed into your skeleton, and I see you still here. Ancestor armor, star-crossed survivor, an unwelcome guest in a hostile environment. Defiance is your birthright. Fire from the first time you drew breath, redrew your fate. Welcome to this space. Know that you are not welcome here. We are all miracles. We are not welcome here. So if our drawing breath is blasphemy or treason, let's keep drawing breath until there's nothing left to breathe in. We are the codes that our ancestors still speak in. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Louise from Split the Plate, and indeed, surviving is not a fortress, but a garden. And Split the Plate is one way that we here are planting our garden. So it's a new month and a new Split the Plate partner. So UU Church West Split the Partner program is one of outreach and generosity. Each month, we give half of all undesignated offerings to a nonprofit organization to help us to live our Unitarian Universalist values, pursue the goal of social justice, and serve our community. Our partner for April is the Urban Ecology Center, UEC. They have a vision. Their vision is to inspire generations to build environmental curiosity, understanding, and respect. For UEC, vision is not just a metaphor. They make it a reality. There are so many options. I had no idea that they did all of this. You can take a hike, have a party in one of their venues, kayak the Milwaukee River, or play with your kids or grandkids. And you can do this while restoring hope for the future of our urban natural world, neighborhood by neighborhood. They have 3 locations: on Milwaukee's east side at Riverside Park, the west side at Washington Park, and in the center of the city in Menominee Valley. UEC offers a lot, even more things than I mentioned. You can go ice skating, hopefully not now. You can plan a wedding, maybe now. Take classes in environmental science, and even assist professionals researching urban issues. And with their mission statement, which is, we connect people in cities to nature and to each other, UEC stands for the same principles of equity, respect, social justice, and responsibility for the natural world. That is also our covenant here at UUCW. Over the last year, UEC volunteers have planted over 100 trees and more than 500 plants while gaining the skills of environmental stewardship. So, if you are participating virtually, please go to the UUC Fellowship website, to the Donate tab, and select Split the Plate from the menu. Or you can text or mail your donation today using the information found here. And I want to thank you today for your generosity to the Urban Ecology Center and to UUCW. We will now graciously accept your offering.
Let's share together our words for dedicating our offering. They are written in your order of service. To the work of this community, which is to ground ourselves in love and joy, and to act for inclusion and justice, we dedicate ourselves, and these are offerings. And now please rise in body and or spirit, and we'll sing hymn number 1017, We Are Building a New Way. May we depart from our time together uplifted by the spirit of life, delighted by the warmth of our gathering, and renewed in soul and mind. As we extinguish the flame of our chalice, may its lingering spark be carried in your heart until we are together again. May it be so, and amen.